And the reason why Jesus is so keen to ensure the mending of our relationships is because so much of the purpose, so not the only purpose, but so much of the purpose of our relationships is to be a reflection of God's love towards us. Relationships, healthy relationships with friends and family members, with parents and children, and with neighbors, and with spouses and partners, healthy human relationships, they give us a glimpse into our relationship with God, our ultimate relationship, the one with whom we are most fully known and fully loved. I think this is actually a definition for intimacy, of being fully known and fully loved. In the creation story in Genesis 2, the Bible is describing the life between humanity and God before sin enters the world and enters relationships. And the language is it's poetic. We don't want to necessarily take it literally, but when there's this poetic language around God's creative activities and God's organizing of creation. And when it comes to humanity, Genesis 2 concludes with an image of God's communion with humanity as embodied in Adam and Eve's relationship. And it culminates in chapter 2, says they were both naked and they felt no shame. The Bible's poetic language is that we're fully known and that we're fully loved. Healthy relationships are those where we're known and where we're loved. Relationships that have longevity to them are relationships where we are in increasing measure more and more known and hopefully more and more loved. So often the barriers to our relationships are when we run afoul of kind of these two areas. Where maybe we're not fully known, but maybe we are to some degree fully loved. That can lead to fear. Or we're like always, trying to perform in the relationship in some way or another in order to sort of keep the facade up about who we are, and living in fear that if you really knew who I am, that you might not love me as much as you think you do. And the other side of it is that we might be fully known, but we're not loved. This is where shame can kind of find its root, where you know me, you've seen parts of my heart or of my life, and the response to that is something other than love towards me. Maybe rejection even. Feel cast aside or exposed, and shame envelops us because we're known but we're not loved. If conflict is to be healthy, it's to lead to healthy relationships. And that means that conflict resolution will lead in some way to being more known and more loved. Healthy conflict and healthy conflict resolution, it can hold the possibility of leading those in conflict down the path wherein they come away with greater knowledge of themselves and the person that they are in conflict with. And healthy conflict resolution can hold the possibility of leading those in conflict down a path wherein they come away with a deeper love for the one who's been their adversary. Unhealthy conflict resolution, it leads down a path where folks want to be right or want to be vindicated. It can lead down a path where we want to dominate rather than to be known or to be loved. Healthy relationships have healthy conflict and healthy conflict resolution. And by the way, the presence of conflict, it doesn't mean it's in the relationship, it doesn't mean that the relationship is bad or even that it's toxic. There can be incredibly toxic relationships that don't have any conflict at all. The aim of our conflict and the hope for our resolved conflict is to be known and to be loved.